I can definitely feel for the majority of the audience that watches in on these videos, because we've had so many uh, words thrown at us from the time we've been very young. Accepting the word smart as meaning intelligence or wisdom, which it doesn't. It means injury. Uh, you know, the the vocabulary has been so dumbed down that it has left a scar on people because they don't even know how to speak, and they don't understand what they say. They know not what comes out of their mouth, and they walk into these trappings. When I'm even reading what I say, when I say Black's Law, they might as well call it Black's Legal, because that's really where it's coming at. It's designed more than not to govern the legal, the deceived, and it touches here and there, on what is truthful, but it mingles it into a softer word called fiction, which is a lie. But so the whole legal system is a lie. It's the imaginations of men, and it governs those who are caught up in this. I call it legal science fiction. It's not real, and so therefore it has what we call laws being passed, but these are not really laws. They're within the concept of legal right off the top. So when you're looking at it, I have to be careful when I'm reading definitions, because they can flip you into being deceived. Because they'll write law is a principle. They'll have comments like this, but it's legal. It's not law. Legal is a principle, and then they'll say fact is an event. Okay, law is, but it's legal, is conceived. Fact is actual. Legal, they put law, is a rule of duty. Okay, legal is a rule of duty. Fact is that which has been according to or in contravention of the rule. So truth is in contravention to the rule of law, because the rule of law works under legal. But it's so confusing for people because it's the rule of legal. But we use law and we tend to think it's something very binding on the individual. And I'm just saying it's not. This is not placed here by people that speak truth. These dictionaries are written by devil's advocates. These guys at the top that know how to write a dictionary of this format, are completely trained in legal fiction. And so they're careful on their words, and they're very careful on the definitions they use to even keep them, vague and many times ambiguous and unclear. So the only thing that was a fact regarding a birth is the given name, because that's a given, that's a fact. The surname is not a fact, it's a fiction. And therefore, when you're looking even in the law of evidence, we're dealing with the law of evidence, and we've touched on this in a previous video, but it's good to go over. It says an actual and absolute reality. Well, we know the Canadian Gage Dictionary, when it was defining surname, it said it was a name added to one's real name. So your real name is your given name. That is a given, that's a fact. The surname is a legal fiction added to one's real name for the purposes of basically controlling a legal system and operating a legal commercial trade system. So for the purpose of course, more than not, unjust enrichment. It says an actual and absolute reality, okay, that's a fact, as distinguished from mere supposition or opinion. A truth as distinguished from fiction or error. So when your parents basically placed on this record, on a statement of birth record, to the authorities, it was just a mere belief that they had claim to that legal title or that last name. And it wasn't, and so therefore the state took it immediately because it was their property. They could draw the line. They say, that's not your property. Now later, of course, what happens? An ambiguous birth certificate pops out. And basically it's in a dead form, because in two ways, look at it, that where truth is, fiction of law does not exist. So that is why Jesus canceled out the death, because he basically was truth. He did not sin. He had no guilt. He had no debt. Therefore, he wiped out the debt. He canceled the debt, according to Colossians 2:13-15. So he canceled out legal indebtedness that was spoken of in another version of that same scripture. So there is no legal debt, but there is a factual reality. And so what's happening in there, we're constantly being corrected and abused and tortured over speaking a lie. And therefore, every time you go into a courtroom and speak and state that legal fiction surname for the record, you're automatically walking into the debtor's trap and you're automatically lying. You've already perjured yourself right off the top. So we were not born in debt in the legal, that okay. Yes, in a spiritual sense, we're all born sinners, yes, but we're not born with legal title debtor situations. That is something that we've assumed and acquired after birth. This was not something that we were given. That you were given the opportunity to trespass on it for the purposes of someone being able to charge you a fee for the use of the title. If it was yours, you wouldn't be being charged a fee for it. It is not yours, therefore it's an alienable title, and it's a granted legal right, and that's why they say under the human rights of the United Nations that you have the right to be recognized by the name on the birth certificate. But that's a granted, okay, it's assumed, but it's not yours. And yes, if you wish to trespass on it and use it, you can play in the game of human rights, because human rights come from a legal system, not from a spiritual. So don't confuse human rights with what is natural from God. It's not natural rights. Natural rights are unalienable. They come from God. They come from truth. Legal rights and human rights come from the imaginations of men's governments and have nothing to do with truth. So we got to be careful on not being confused and not falling into the trap of not understanding what is the difference between fact and fiction. So when you're going into a court and this document, this statement of birth record, if you're fortunate enough to have one of these, you basically, when this goes into the court as evidence for the record, the evidence is that the only thing that would be on that record that has fact, which could be entered as evidence, is your given name. The surname is not fact, it's fiction, and it's nothing more than a mere supposition or belief of the parents, and it's therefore standing in the category of hearsay. So I hope this video has helped, and take the time, break it down, make notes, go to the references, and I hope that this will help you.